Hey, welcome back to Business 163, Personal Finance. This is now video number 4. And as you already know from the title, this is just an honest human question. In this 4th video, we're asking the question, why is saving so hard? I mean, my goodness, let's be honest. The reason why many of us don't have a sufficient emergency fund, why we haven't saved for the future things we want to have in our life, is because saving is hard. And what we want to look at in this video is just really sort of a peek into the reality of what makes saving so hard. And quite frankly, I've also given you quite a bit of supplemental material, both some readings and some highly recommended videos for you to engage with, to really get a better handle, a better understanding of not just the question of why is saving hard, but to get to know yourself better, because quite frankly, that's actually the reason why saving is so hard, right? So, as you can see from the title slide, that's what we're dealing with. We're trying to answer the question a little bit, why is saving hard? And just starting out, I'll equate it to this. Saving is an awful lot like losing weight. It takes an enormous amount of initial effort to change what we're doing. We know we want the end goal, but even though as try as we can, after a couple of weeks, it just doesn't seem to be making a big difference, and it's really discouraging. And then we get distracted and we go on to other things, isn't it? I mean, in my life, saving is a lot like that, as is losing weight, quite frankly, right? And so it's a struggle. It is an ongoing struggle, either one, whether we're talking about losing weight or we're talking about building savings. Now, here is one chief reason why. Because saving is boring. Saving is an exciting thing to talk about, think about, read about. It's not an exciting subject, right? It's not particularly provocative. It's about as interesting as a long series of lectures about why you should brush your teeth. We all know we should brush our teeth. No one needs to be convinced of that, but quite frankly, it's not exciting to talk about. Same with saving. Saving is boring. On the top of that, saving doesn't have an immediate reward. It's not like we start saving tomorrow and then lo and behold, the very next day we have this enormous windfall sum to deal with, right? No, saving takes a long time. It doesn't present an immediate reward. It, quite frankly, isn't as tangible as when we use the money to buy something we really wanted, right? It's not as tangible as a material purchase. And quite frankly, it takes a really long time to build up a good savings amount, especially at the pace that most of us are able to regularly save. And therefore, it's one of those things that makes it just really hard to pay attention to stay committed to be deliberate about, that it is, quite frankly, a rather boring subject. Now, there are also, deeper than that, however, some truly significant psychological reasons why savings is hard. These are a few of them. This list is not intended to be comprehensive, but I think that just as we go through these 5, you will recognize how these things affect us and maybe affect you, right? So starting at the top there, many of us suffer from what the researchers call present bias. We favor immediate rewards, and we frankly tend to procrastinate about getting started on processes or changes of habits that offer beneficial but slow rewards. And sort of, that's the reason why I started this entire little lecture out talking about the ways that saving is a lot like losing weight, right? We tend not to put a lot of, as much value as we should on the future. We tend to be present biased. Moving down then, you can see the exponential growth bias. What is exponential growth bias? We don't consider the long-term benefits of compounded interest. Now, we've told you in this course at the very first module, the potential future benefits. If you just continue saving $200 a month, by the time you retire, you will be a millionaire. Yeah, if you start early enough, you save $200 a month, it will eventually compound. Interest will earn interest. It will build up to the point where you will have $1 million in savings. But That's an abstract concept that many of us don't consider the minute we wake up and turn out of bed, right? We don't think about exponential growth that much. We're biased against thinking about it, and that's one of the reasons we don't put as much emotional value in savings as it deserves. Let's move over to that little red circle there, limited memory bias. What's that? Well, limited memory bias means that no matter how bad the last emergency was or how expensive it was, we tend to not consider the future possibilities of like-kind emergencies in the future. And so even if we've had an expensive car repair, it doesn't take long for us to completely forget about the need to be saving for, well, the next looming expensive car repair. We tend not to think about those things. Why? Well, quite frankly, they don't make us happy, all right? And therefore, we tend to have a limited memory effect in our biases. If you drop below that to the herding bias, what's the herding bias? We tend to follow the crowd. We are social creatures. Human beings are social creatures. We tend to follow the crowd, the suggestions and behavior of the crowd we hang with. And if our friends don't save, neither will we. Or quite frankly, if our friends save, but we never know about it because quite frankly, we don't talk about it much in conversation, right? Because remember, it's kind of boring, right? When was the last time you had a conversation with one of your friends on a Friday night? Hey man, how much do you save every month, right? I mean, we don't really talk about it that much, right? And so if it's not part of our normal casual conversation with our peer group, we won't do it either, right? And then finally, at least on this slide, the final bias we want to talk about is entertainment bias. We like to spend our money on things that are fun and entertaining. And savings is boring, like we said just a slide ago, right? And so we tend to think about where we're going to spend our money on things that we'll get some sort of pleasure out of. And that's another very, very large reason why there are pre-existing psychological biases and behaviors and tendencies that keep us from saving. Just yet another reason why, at a very deep level, saving is hard. Now, at this point, what I want to encourage you to do is to take the Financial Times Money Personality Quiz. The Financial Times website has a fascinating article about the 6 general financial personality types that their research seems to suggest. And the link, I've given you the link in the supplemental material pages in Canvas in this module. But what you'll see is that if you take a quick little test that asks you about your attitudes about money, that it will come back and suggest that you may fit into one of 6 different categories. You can see them listed there: the anxious investor, the hoarder, the social value spender, the cash splasher, the Fitbit financier, or the ostrich. And what you see there on the right is the illustration from the ostrich. So I do invite you, and I will ask you about this outside of the this video series as well, just to double check and see if you've taken the Financial Times Money Personality Quiz, and if you found that interesting, if you found that sort of fit who you believe you are, who you know yourself to be when we talk about savings and these kinds of things. All right. So finally, just remember, right? I want you in this whole series on saving. Remember that everyone struggles with saving. It's a natural thing we all struggle with, many for the exact same reasons you and I struggle with it. Other people do too, all right? Hopefully that makes it feel that you're not alone in the struggle. Now, we are going to give you, in the very next video, some very good proven strategies to make saving easier. Okay, so that's coming just in the next video. Be encouraged, right? Be hopeful. Normalize the struggle. Just realize you're struggling, we're all struggling to save the sufficient amount of money that logic tells us we need to have set aside. And now is the time to build new habits to overcome it. And one of the things that I want to encourage you with and remind you of, that old Chinese proverb I cited in the very first video: don't wait until you are thirsty to begin digging a well, right? This is the time to overcome the biases you may have. This is the time to build new habits and do away with the old ones and to reshape your life. Start digging the well now. This is the time. We're all doing it. It's a struggle for all of us. Nobody finds it exciting, but it does hold promise for our future, and that means it's the smart thing to do. We'll see you in the next video.